Two households, same age, same city, same income. Both have worked hard, saved carefully, and built up the same $70,000 nest egg. But from that same starting line, they make two very different decisions. And over the next 30 years, those decisions could lead to two completely different financial lives. One household buys a home, locks in a mortgage, and starts building equity through real estate. The other keeps renting, stays flexible, and invests the money they are not spending on property taxes, repairs, insurance, and closing costs. At first, the answer seems obvious. Homeownership has long been called the American dream, while renting is often dismissed as throwing money away. But what if that belief is only half true? What if the renter who invests consistently ends up with more liquid wealth than the homeowner? And what if the homeowner gains something the renter cannot easily measure on a spreadsheet, like stability, control, and protection from rising rents? This is not just a question about buying versus renting. It is a question about how wealth is built in America, how discipline changes outcomes, and how one financial decision can shape your freedom, your family, and your retirement for decades. So the real question is not simply, is it better to buy or rent? The better question is this: which choice actually makes sense for your money, your future, and the life you are trying to build? Meet Ryan and Michael. They are not wealthy investors, real estate experts, or people who inherited money from their families. They are two ordinary Americans trying to make one of the biggest financial decisions of their lives. Both are 32 years old. Both earn about $80,000 a year. Both live in a growing mid-sized American city. And both have saved enough money to seriously consider buying a home. Ryan believes buying is the responsible move. To him, owning a house means stability, control, and the chance to build long-term equity. He wants a place where his family can settle down, where the monthly payment feels predictable, and where he is no longer at the mercy of a landlord raising the rent. Michael sees the same numbers and reaches a different conclusion. He does not hate homeownership, but he values flexibility. He wants to keep his cash available, avoid surprise repair bills, and put his money to work in the stock market while he continues renting. In his mind, freedom, liquidity, and long-term compound growth may be just as powerful as owning a front door with his name on the deed. Neither man is careless. Neither man is foolish. They are simply choosing two different paths from the same starting line, and over the next 30 years, those choices will reveal something most people never fully understand about wealth, housing, and financial freedom in America. Now let us put the numbers on the table. The home Ryan is considering costs $350,000. He uses his $70,000 in savings as a 20% down payment and takes out a 30-year fixed mortgage at a 7% interest rate. Michael rents a comparable home for $2,000 a month and invests his $70,000, along with any money he saves by not paying the extra costs of homeownership, into a broadly diversified index fund. To keep this comparison realistic, we will assume the home grows in value by about 3% to 4% per year, rent rises roughly 3% annually, and the stock market returns around 10% per year before inflation over the long run. These are not guarantees. Real life never moves in a perfectly straight line. Home prices can fall. Rents can spike. Markets can crash. Interest rates can change. But by using the same starting point and the same rules for both men, we can compare the two choices in a fair way. Not based on emotion, tradition, or what people repeat at family dinners, but based on how money actually behaves over time. At first, Ryan's decision to buy the house looks like the clear winner. Every month, part of his mortgage payment goes toward paying down the loan, slowly turning debt into equity. If the home rises in value over time, he is not just paying for a place to live. He is building ownership in an asset that could become far more valuable decades later. That is the emotional and financial power of homeownership. It gives Ryan stability, control, and the feeling that his money is going towards something permanent. His mortgage may feel painful in the beginning, especially at a 7% interest rate, but over time, that payment becomes more predictable, while rents in the surrounding market may continue climbing. But the full picture is not that simple. The moment Ryan buys the house, thousands of dollars leave his account for closing costs, lender fees, inspections, title insurance, and other expenses that do not build equity at all. Then come the ongoing costs many buyers underestimate. property taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance, repairs, higher utility bills, and the occasional surprise that shows up at the worst possible time, like a leaking roof, a broken furnace, or a plumbing issue that cannot be ignored. And unlike rent, these costs do not always arrive in neat monthly payments. Some years may feel easy. Other years may demand thousands of dollars at once. So while buying a home can be a powerful wealth-building tool, it is not magic. Ryan is not just buying an investment. He is buying responsibility. The real question is not whether homeownership builds wealth. It often can. The real question is whether the equity he builds is strong enough to outweigh the hidden costs, the lost flexibility, and the financial pressure that comes with owning the keys. Then there is Michael's path. At first, renting looks weaker because he does not get to point to a house and say, "This is mine." Every month, his rent check goes to a landlord, and on paper, it does not build home equity. This is why so many people say renting is throwing money away. But that phrase misses something important. Rent is not always wasted money. Rent buys shelter, flexibility, and freedom from many of the risks that come with ownership. Michael does not have to replace the roof. He does not have to pay property taxes. He does not have to panic when the water heater breaks. And if his job changes, his family needs change, or he wants to move to a different city, he can leave with far less friction than Ryan. More importantly, Michael invests the money he would have spent on closing costs, repairs, property taxes, homeowners insurance, and other ownership expenses into a diversified index fund. If he stays consistent, that money has the potential to compound for decades, quietly turning flexibility into serious wealth. But this strategy only works under one condition: discipline. Renting and investing is not the same as renting and spending. If Michael uses the extra cash on vacations, new cars, restaurants, subscriptions, or lifestyle upgrades, the financial advantage disappears. He must invest month after month, even when the stock market drops, even when headlines are scary, and even when it feels easier to keep the money in his checking account. That is the hidden challenge of the renter's path. It can be powerful, liquid, and flexible, but only for the person who treats investing like a mortgage payment they owe to their future self. Without that discipline, renting is just renting. With that discipline, renting can become a serious wealth-building strategy. And this is where the comparison becomes more interesting. In the early years, Ryan may feel like he is falling behind because so much of his mortgage payment goes toward interest, not principal. Michael may feel ahead because his investments are growing and his cash is easier to access. But later, the story can shift. Ryan's mortgage payment stays relatively fixed, while Michael's rent may keep rising year after year. Ryan's home may appreciate. His loan balance may shrink. His equity may grow quietly in the background. At the same time, Michael's investment portfolio may grow faster than the home, especially if he invests consistently through market downturns. But he must also face volatility. His account may drop 20%, 30%, or even more during a bad market cycle. Ryan may not see the daily value of his home move up and down on a screen, but Michael sees every market swing in real time. That is why this is not a simple battle between home good and rent bad. It is a battle between two different forms of wealth. Home equity can be powerful, but it is not always liquid. A stock portfolio can be flexible, but it can be emotionally difficult to hold during crashes. A house can provide stability, but it can also create financial pressure. Renting can provide freedom, but it can also become dangerous if the renter never invests. But the hardest part of this decision is that it is not just about math. A spreadsheet can compare mortgage payments, rent increases, investment returns, property taxes, and home values. But it cannot fully measure peace of mind. For Ryan, owning a home means more than building equity. It means knowing his family has a place that feels permanent, a neighborhood his children can grow up in, and a monthly payment that may feel more predictable than rent over time. It gives him a sense of control in a world where so many costs keep rising. But that security comes with pressure. Every repair is his responsibility. Every tax increase affects his budget. Every unexpected bill reminds him that stability can still be expensive. Michael feels a different kind of emotion. Renting gives him freedom, liquidity, and the ability to move if life changes, But it can also create a quiet fear that he is falling behind while others are buying homes and building equity. As he gets older, he may start asking whether his investment portfolio will be enough to replace the security of owning a paid-off home in retirement. For a young professional who may move for a better job, renting and investing may make perfect sense. For a family that wants stability in a school district, buying may be worth more than the spreadsheet suggests. For someone close to retirement, the emotional value of a paid-off home may matter more than maximizing investment returns. And for someone who struggles with saving, a mortgage can act like forced discipline, turning monthly payments into long-term equity. That is why the rent versus buy decision is so personal. It is not only about which option creates more wealth. It is about fear, freedom, family, flexibility, and the kind of future each person wants to wake up inside. Money decisions may be calculated with numbers, but they are lived through emotions. In the end, there is no universal winner between buying a home and renting while investing. The better choice depends on the person, the market, and the life they are trying to build. Buying can be powerful if you plan to stay in one place for many years, can handle repairs and unexpected costs, and want the stability of owning an asset that may appreciate over time. Renting can also be powerful if you actually invest the money you save, stay disciplined through market ups and downs, and value flexibility more than permanence. A homeowner who stretches too far can become house poor, trapped by payments, repairs, taxes, and stress. A renter who never invests can spend decades with flexibility but no growing assets. That is why the smartest decision is not based on what your parents did, what your friends are doing, or what social media tells you is right. It should be based on your timeline, your income, your risk tolerance, your family needs, your retirement goals, and the current cost of money. And here is where the conversation gets even more interesting. What if Ryan bought a duplex instead of a single-family home and rented out one side? What if Michael invested for 15 years and later bought a home in cash? What if interest rates dropped from 7% to 5% and completely changed the math? Those small changes could turn this entire comparison upside down. So before you decide whether buying or renting is the better move, remember this. The best financial decision is not the one that sounds smartest in theory. It is the one you can actually live with, pay for, and stick to when real life becomes messy. The mistake is not buying. The mistake is not renting. The real mistake is making a major financial decision without understanding the trade-offs. A house can build wealth, but it can also create pressure. Renting can create freedom, but only if that freedom is paired with discipline. Stocks can compound, but only if you can stay invested when the market falls. And peace of mind matters. Because the best financial plan is not just the one with the highest number at the end. It is the one that helps you build wealth without losing control of your life. Here at Real Money Decisions, we break down the real financial choices everyday Americans face, including housing, investing, retirement, debt, and the money decisions that can shape your future for decades. If this video helped you think differently about buying versus renting, make sure to subscribe, because in the next video, we will look at how one small change, like buying a duplex, refinancing your mortgage, or investing the difference, can completely change the outcome.